You are listening to the Fish and Whips podcast, where every week we discuss all things Miami Marlins, pitching staff performance, and up-to-date news on the National League East Division. And here's your host, lifelong fan, Nick Alvarez.
And welcome back, Marlins fans, to another episode of the Fish and Whips podcast with me, Nick Alvarez. Well, the lockout's over, Jeter left, and we haven't really signed anybody until today. We just signed Jorge Soler to a 3-year contract with opt-outs after this season and next season, if he so chooses, for 3 years, $36 million. For a while, it felt like the sky was falling, according to Marlins Twitter anyway. Everyone was having serious FOMO going on. Everyone was pretty much saying, we need to get this guy, everyone's getting everybody else, and blah, 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 and we're not doing anything, and relax. Chill out. It's the first week of spring training. The lockout just ended last week. There's still time. The first game of the season isn't for another, 2.5, 3 weeks? Yeah, everything seems kind of rushed right now because, everything is being rushed. Free agency is being rushed. Trades are being rushed. All that. But y'all need to chill the hell out. I'm serious, man. It's like, y'all can be so fucking depressing sometimes. Like, I understand that a lot of these fans want to win. I do too. Trust me. Sometimes people don't think that's what I want, but I have realistic expectations. I know that the Marlins are never going to offer a contract that Nick Castellanos got. I even said at the beginning of the offseason, before the lockout began, I was saying that they're probably going to offer him 4 years, $80 million at the most. And they probably offered somewhere close to that. And Philly added the extra year. So we took it. And Philly's a very hitter-friendly ballpark. Lone Depot Park isn't. We all know this. We all know that last year with the Reds, Nick Castellanos had a breakout season in a hitter-friendly ballpark. If he comes to Lone Depot Park, sure, he might still put up good numbers, but will it be the same as being with the Reds? Probably not. And so, even though he probably did want to come home to Miami, since he did play at Archbishop McCarthy High School, starting shortstop, by the way, very, very good. And my buddy Chris was actually on that team. He played left field at the time for Archbishop McCarthy. But other than that, man, it's unrealistic for us to offer big money contracts right now. Maybe sometime in the future, sure. But right now, it's not happening. We're offering good money contracts, but we're not offering big money contracts. And there's a difference. We do have money to spend, and we have spent some of it. We spent a good amount, actually. We've extended Sandy for 5 years. We've signed Avasail Garcia. We just signed Jorge Soler. I believe that adds up to almost $140 million invested into the roster. And that's without acquiring Joey Wendle and Jacob Stallings and the reliever Lewis Head. And I'm sure the Marlins are going to be adding some more bullpen relief, because I know that's somewhere that needs to be addressed also. And who knows, maybe they'll sign a veteran starter as well. But it will not be for these audacious numbers that everyone is signing for. A lot of the big name players are signing for. That's just not how they operate right now. And for me, I'm cool with it, because I know that you don't always have to spend a big amount of money to win. The Marlins have actually proved that. I mean, the only time they haven't proved it was, I guess you could say, 1997. But even then, I don't think their salary was really that high. Um, I mean, maybe compared to now, it's definitely not that high. But back then, I'm sure it still wasn't that high. Um, the Marlins payroll in 2003, I believe, was under 65 million. I believe 65-70 million dollars. And we won the World Series with it. And in 2009, the Marlins went 87-75, and they probably had around the same amount of salary cap. Now, was it good enough to get in the postseason? No, but it was still a very good, very exciting season for us. And right now, playoffs are the goal. They should be the goal, minimum. But I think we should also curb our expectations to being competitive. We want to be able to be in games, most of the games. We want to not only, of course, the Marlins not only want to put butts in the seats, but they also want to put a competitive product out on the field. Now, with the signings they've had after 67 win season, and that was a lot of it due to injuries, both on the pitching and offensive side of the ball of the ball. I still think that this year will definitely be a lot better than last year. Will we get to more than 82 wins and have a real winning season? At least for some of these, Marlins negative Nancy's out there, the Marlins Twitter negative Nancy's. I think we will. I think we'll be all right. I think with the roster we have, I would say we probably win between 80 to 84 games. And that's with things going particularly well. No major injuries, things of that nature. Like no season-ending injuries. Not stuff that, they miss a week or maybe two and they can recover from it. But at worst, this team is probably, I would say, between 76 to 78 wins. And for a lot of people, that's still not good enough. And for me, I don't want them to have another losing season. I really don't. But like I said, the off season, it's not over. Spring training literally just started. There are still plenty of arms and plenty of people to go after. Who knows? Who knows what they'll get? They're going to spend money. They're just not going to spend the money that everyone like all the other teams are doing right now. Maybe sometime in the future, maybe next year, maybe the year after that, sure. But they want to put a competitive product on the field. And I think with the addition of Jorge Soler, along with all the other additions they've made so far, I think they've addressed a lot of key things. And I think we should at least put a little bit more faith in them. Just a little bit. Just give them a slight chance. Now, I know people be like, "Oh, it's year 5 of a rebuild and, you know, like we haven't done anything and blah 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 blah." Shut the hell up. Okay? The rebuild of this team was disrupted by COVID-19. Once COVID-19 hit in 2020, that put a pause to a lot of probably what they were doing. Every team lost money during 2020 and 2021. Barely anyone has still recovered from that, especially the small market teams. Now, a lot of them maybe had maybe had not better owners, but I will say owners with more war chest money than some, right? And that's why maybe you see some teams like the Twins signing Carlos Correa and the Rockies signing Chris Bryant to these mega deals. But what you're not thinking about is how COVID affected the Marlins. It's not entering your mind. The fact that COVID hit put a damper on probably what they really wanted to do last year and also what they even wanted to do this year because they've lost money over the past couple of years. Now, I'm not saying it's uh it's an excuse that they should have, but it's realistic. It's just what happened. That is not, something that is easily recoverable from. A lot of the season last year was limited attendance. 2020 was 60 games with no attendance. So just think about that. So that's 2 seasons out of the 5 years. 40% of the 5-year rebuild that everyone keeps talking about was COVID related. And even this year is still somewhat COVID related because it's still around. But the fact of the matter is this: you have to rethink your mind about this rebuild, about the timeline. The timeline isn't in year 5, really. It's probably right around year 3, year 4, realistically, for what they actually wanted to do. COVID really put a damper on some of their plans, at least from what my thinking is. So, like I said, we'll see how the season goes. I definitely think we'll be surprising some teams. We'll be competitive enough. And who knows? Maybe we'll be fighting at the top of the division, especially with some of the offensive pieces that are coming back this season healthy, and also some of the pieces that we've added. So, like I said, just relax, chill out, let this season run its course. And if we still suck, we still suck. And there's always next year anyway. So it's time for y'all to, as I would say, get over it, bitch, and move on. I'm out.
Thanks for listening to the Fish and Whips podcast. For updates and timely commentary, follow the Fish and Whips podcast on Twitter at Fish N Whips. That's fish, the letter N, and the word whips. You can also follow your host, Nick Alvarez, on Twitter at NicksTake22. Thanks so much for listening, and we'll see you next week.